county of the Glen, a Christmas tree is ready for Saint Nick. And the stockings, they are hung with the hope that Rudolph comes. Sweet Glengarry, it's Christmas time again. Well, there's nothing quite like a Celtic Christmas night. We're ready for you when the time is right. We're gathered by the fire, singing songs and sipping cider. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a merry old night. Well, it's 40 odd below, and the snow begins to blow. We'll be counting on old Rudy's nose tonight. And as Santa makes his way, and the children lay awake, the pipes will play to welcome him our way. Well, there's nothing quite like a Celtic Christmas night. We're ready for you when the time is right. We're gathered by the fire, singing songs and sipping cider. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a merry old night. As we slowly all awake, with a smile upon our face, we all rush out to gather round the tree. Friends and family, we all gather with our matching Christmas sweaters. Happy holidays and best wishes for the new year. Well, there's nothing quite like a Celtic Christmas night. We're ready for you when the time is right. We're gathered by the fire, singing songs and sipping cider. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a merry old night. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a merry old night. Santa. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Ho, ho, ho.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode number 5 of the Screaming Beaver Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Jackson. A big thanks to my friends over at Bang on the Ear. They're a Celtic rock band from Glengarry, Ontario. They provided us with tonight's intro music, A Celtic Christmas Night. Michelle and Brad are longtime friends of mine, and you can actually even hear their daughter Lachlan on the track, which I thought was quite cute. Lachlan's a hell of a soccer player. She plays with my daughter, and it was nice to hear her. If you want to listen to the music, you can stream it over at bangontheearmusic, all one word, .bandcamp.com, or you can download the track and support the artist for $1.99, which is a steal in my opinion. Tonight's episode, we have Louise Sproule on. Louise is the owner and publisher of the Vankleek Hill Review newspaper. She is the straw that stirs the drink here in Vankleek Hill. Her events that she puts on in this town are just unreal. Everything from the Yes Women Can shows to the Christmas house tours, you name it. Louise has her finger in it. She's a member of the Fair Board. She's just into everything in Vankleek Hill, and she just recently put out a new book. So we get into all that stuff. I mean, I could do 5 episodes with Louise and still only touch the surface of the things that she does for this town. So I hope everyone enjoys the episode, and without further ado, here's the interview. Good evening, Louise. How are you tonight?
I am good. How are you?
Oh, very well. How are things going here at the Review these days?
Pretty good. We had a very busy week last week. We put out probably the biggest paper ever in the history of the review. It was 64 pages because, of course, we've changed our page size, but it's a lot of file handling. But it's pretty busy, and we opened up the front reception area this week for 3 days. We've been closed since March, and then more and more people have been coming to the back door, which we had set up for people. And I figured that it probably made more sense to have more stringent controls in the front area than have people coming in the back door, although we did have a table set up. So we're open again next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because there's lots of books for sale by local authors. And
great presents for under the tree and stocking stuffers. And so tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. Who is Louise Sproule?
Oh my God. I was just saying to somebody the other day that the older you get, the longer your stories get. You know that when you're 22 and somebody says, what's new or where are you from? Like it takes 5 minutes to tell people. But the older you get, the more stories there are. But anyway, I'm descended from Simeon Vankleek. There's still a lot of his descendants around. Both my parents are from here, but they didn't meet each other until they were working in Montreal. I always make a joke and say my parents aren't related to each other, but I probably shouldn't make that on the radio. But so they moved here from Montreal when I was about 6. So I went to Hawkesbury Public School. And then I tell a story in my book of how I was supposed to go to Hawkesbury High School, but I was at the tail end of the baby boom. And there were so many grade 9ers that the Prescott County Board of Education sort of temporarily shrunk the boundaries to right outside Hawkesbury. So all the kids from Lornell, all the kids from Chute Blondo, and all up like Green Lane, up Highway 34, we all had to take a bus to Hawkesbury, get off, get on another bus, and come to Vankleek Hill.
Oh, really?
And true story here. My mother was so upset because she said, it's just a bunch of farmers up there. What are you going to do in high school up there? There was a big meeting, and a lot of parents were unhappy. They thought we were being sent off into the wild unknown up here. But anyway, as I say in my book, I keep talking about my book, it's the best thing that ever happened to me because when I came here, I felt like this is where I'm from.
Yeah.
Like that I wasn't from Hawkesbury, although my mom is from Hawkesbury. I mean, I have roots there, but this is my hometown. I mean, I knew it the minute that I walked uptown, noon hour. I thought, wow, how come I've never been here before? I mean, it's only 6 minutes away or whatever, but so I went to high school here and met a lot of farmers, which is fine. My dad grew up on a farm and worked at the Review after school because I wanted to be a writer. And then I ended up doing everything but writing. I learned the books and I did layout and I learned how to run a linotype. And anyway, I worked there full time for 2 years. And then I thought, there's no future here. Like, I can't just keep working at this newspaper. Smart me. So I went to university. I went to Trent University. And so I started studying psychology there. And then about a year or so later, my partner and I, he had come with me. We moved back here. So I finished my degree part-time here. And I also got a part-time job working in a printing plant doing the layout. It was just that we used to do 3 newspapers a week. It was in Grenville at the time. And it wasn't too long after that like I knew that Jean-Paul, he had been ill and he, I sort of had a feeling he might be looking for like someone to buy the paper. So, some years went, I'm skipping a lot of years here. Like I said, we'd be here till tomorrow morning. But anyway, I was involved with the Vankleek Hill Collegiate Institute reunion. And I kind of reconnected with Jean-Paul then because we were working on a book for the reunion. And we were at the Review using the light tables and they were making the pictures because we had to stick the pictures in this book and everything. And I started feeling kind of, sentimental about the place. Like I'd been gone. He was just, I walked in the back door. It was like I had never left. And so I started talking to him about maybe buying the paper, and I had somebody help me find some money to borrow because I was a single parent at that time, and I didn't have any money. And so I had a really nice lawyer who found me money to borrow. The guy didn't even know me, and I bought the paper, and so I paid that back. And anyway, it's
So was that when the review was over across from the United Church on?
yeah.
Yeah.
The review was there from 1919 until 2004,
Okay.
and then we moved over here
So you bought it in which year?
in 92.
92.
I bought it just when it was going to become a 100-year-old
Okay.
newspaper.
And how long had Jean Paul, you said? Or?
Yeah, so it was owned by Jean-Paul Boyer and his wife Therese, and it had been his father's before that, and it had been in the Boyer family for 65 years.
Oh, okay.
So I, like I said, I'm condensing a lot. I knew that his two kids, they were adults by then. They had never worked at the newspaper. I think the son had briefly. So I knew that, I knew them. I knew they were like family practically for me. So I knew that they didn't, I think they were happy to find somebody that wanted to take it on.
Yeah.
And so it really worked out well.
Well, for sure. And when did you buy this lovely building? This used to be Becker's, right?
Yeah, it wasn't lovely when I bought it. I think almost everybody in town told me I was crazy. Maybe I was crazy, who knows? But I bought it in, I think it's 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've been here about 16 years.
Yeah, you've put a lot of work into it, and
yeah, it was a long 5 months, but we got it done.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was when we were at the old building. 41 High Street used to be a hotel and a saloon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was one big room, and they built offices when I was kind of there. When I was there working there, I call it. A lot of people have worked at the Review more than once, and it's called a tour of duty. I did 3 tours of duties, and Dorothy's done 2. I had Suzanne Tacey work for me for 25 years. She did 2 tours of duty. Sometimes people work, they take a break, and then they come back. But that used to be a big bar saloon. And then when we changed from like CompuGraphic computers, we went to like real computers, not typesetting computers, but we were digitizing. And we were trying to wire networks and everything, and we were just trying to do everything. It wasn't, it sort of wasn't built for what we need today. And in fact, I put in so many network, wall plugs and everything, and I should have put in 4 times as many. Like we have VoIP phones, but we're okay. We've managed. We've got.
It's a very very nice building and very nice setup you have here, and it's one of the nicest buildings in town as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks.
I spent a lot of time right where I'm sitting right now playing video games like Street Fighter, and
this is that right?
Yeah, this is where the video game was. Right when you walked in the door, there was.
I'm trying to remember. I've come in here before.
Yeah.
I can't remember what was. They used to have movies against this wall, didn't they?
Yeah, that was a little bit. I don't know if they had a whole lot of movies when I was a kid. We had Video Bite down the street where we'd go.
Oh, I remember Video Bite.
I was just talking to Alana Cameron last night because one of our favorite movies from our childhood was Best of the Best. It was a karate movie, and it's on Netflix now. So I sent her a message to tell her that it was there, and we're reminiscing about all the time we'd spend at Video Bite staring at the same 200 movies to see what we were going to rent that night when we were kids. So yeah. So what are the challenges that are facing small town papers these days? They're getting fewer and farther between, I think.
Yeah, and it's there's so much to say about that. In Canada, there are still more than 1,000 community newspapers. And I don't know how that compares with what used to be. I didn't look that up before this. But in Ontario, there's over 221 community newspapers. But I think the interesting thing is that of the 1,026 newspapers in Canada, 467, so that's almost half, are owned by 1 of 10 companies.
Okay.
So I think the rarity that's happening is the independent newspapers are becoming fewer. And of course, there's a huge uproar among newspaper owners about, how Google and Facebook have stolen all the advertising. And, there's been a huge change in the economy and in the marketplace. And I often say to people, I think newspapers were the canaries in the gold mine. It has hit us first, but it is now hitting retailers and furniture stores. Insurance people are going to feel the hit. Everybody's going to feel it. And I think, that it's about time they did a support local thing, but right now there are a number of, there's some lawsuits pending. And I think in France, the government I think there's legislation that's saying that Google and Facebook have to pay community media. They have to pay newspapers for using their content. But of course, Google and Facebook and the big players, I mean, they're pretty much the only big players, are arguing that they don't really need the content. Like they're just, they're just so big and they don't really need our content. But from our perspective, I mean, people might find it hard to believe or fathom even when we put the pictures up of the blockade on the bridge, on the Long Sault Bridge, like within, I don't even think it was 12 hours, we had 250,000 views on that.
Yeah.
So we have a bigger reach, like an average month would be like 150,000 on our Facebook page.
Oh, really?
Yeah, our website is over 100,000 stories are read in a month on our Facebook page. So, on our website. But the big problem, like at the core of it, is if we don't have the advertising revenue, we don't have enough revenue to pay the people that we had. I mean, I think something like 30% of journalists have been released in the United States, and there were more papers in the States. So it's, the review since the pandemic started, I think we printed every week for the first month, and then we went to week 2 and 4 of every month. And it's to stay sustainable. I mean, our revenues have been down 30, 40, 50% per month. So it's a kind of a catch-22. I can either print every week and have not enough people to put the paper out, or I can put the content out and lean a little bit more to putting it online where it's not so expensive and keep people employed. Because I can't put out a newspaper with nothing in it to read, or everybody's going to say the paper's no good.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard. I mean, I put people first, and I do feel badly because I think there are some people that they don't have the internet connectivity. They're not into it. Maybe I don't want to, say it's always the older people. There's some people that just hate the internet.
Yeah.
So those are the people suffering. They're not getting the full value, but we're publishing stories on a website every day. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's like the National Newspaper Association. We're part of the Canadian Newspaper Association. I think it's some type of media awards. And one of the criteria was you had to publish every day, and then they changed it to publish online every day. So that means that we can compete with the New York Times because we're publishing online every day, which is, we're posting 4 or 5 items per day. Some of them are provincial press releases, but a lot of it's police reports. We have local stories. So we try to publish every day. It puts us higher in the Google search, the more active our website is. So as you said, you shouldn't ask that because but it's interesting too, when you look at the local people in this community, when they talk about support local, are they advertising with us? Like, it's very hard because they see, well, I can boost this on Facebook for $5. Why should I buy an ad for 20 in the review, or 25 or 30? And people are still reading their paper. But if they get a few people walk in the door from Facebook, they have instant results and they think they're good to go. But I always counter that with, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. And why are, businesses are closing because you're joining millions of businesses on Facebook, and I don't know if we're all going to end up living online and watching ads online. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I'm talking and I just don't stop.
No, that's good. People are here to listen to you talk. I'm a big supporter of local, supporting local, and I wanted to get to this a little later, but we might as well touch on it now. I'm not a fan of the Tim Hortons in town, and
I know to the fans out there, like, I got a list of questions which just came in like late this afternoon, and one of them was, and I'm going to just cheat and go ahead here. It says the death of Vankleek Hill as we know it, and I know that Jason has been against that, and I think people better give themselves a shake. Because the little charm and the wonderful things that we have here in Vankleek Hill, it is the people who make that, and it is our heritage, and you cannot buy heritage. Yeah. We have it, and we have to protect it, and there's nothing to prevent an investor from buying half of Main Street and taking it down to make it look like some cute little village in St. Sauveur. There's nothing to stop them. So that has been my thing, is that we need elected officials that are watching what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, you were going to start and I interrupted
No,
you.
no. So when I was in grade 12, we went to this little town called Kiama in Australia with Mr. Vadan as a high school trip. And they actually have a law in their town saying that you're not allowed to have any chains. Yeah, no chains in town because it's a very touristy area and they don't want a McDonald's on the thing. So if you want to go to McDonald's, you got to drive to the next town down the road. You go to mom and dad's hamburger shop, and I kind of always thought that's how Vankleek Hill should be. No chains in town, everything owned locally, and it's what makes us different than every other little town in Vankleek Hill. The fact that we don't have a Tim Hortons, we don't have a Subway, God forbid we ever get a Taco Bell, and that's what makes you different. And people going to the Verfort Shed and people going to
Broken Kettle,
and like my kids, they save up their pennies to go to the Broken Kettle in the summer and get some ice cream, and or go to the Dep as they call it down to the Depanneur, and same thing with the expansion of the development that's going in. I was not a big fan of the idea of putting a whole bunch of houses tight close together, and
no.
I like Vankleek Hill the size that it is, and I know I'm in the minority, and I have a lot of good friends that adamantly disagree with me on that, and that's their right, and we can still be friends about it. But
yeah, it is hard. I mean, I think the little businesses that are here, and I say little, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but they need more volume.
Yeah.
Everybody here, I mean, that's why everyone loves the home tour, even the fair. The fair generates a lot of local spending. All the people are buying food and they're making baking entries and they're picking up extension cords. I mean, it's a certain amount of dollar investment. I'm on the fair board, and I was lucky enough to go to the convention in Toronto, and they talked about trying to put the dollar value onto your economy and telling the local people about it because it generates a lot of investment. So it's the same thing with other investment, with other houses. There's been a ton of infilling happening in Vankleek Hill. Like, there's not a lot of vacant lots. Take a walk around the streets. Yeah. And our population hasn't grown because the per capita household currently is very low. I should have printed that out for you. In fact, at the meeting about the subdivision, the public meeting, I presented a sort of a population study, what we have now, how many people per square kilometer, and how many people we will have. And the population density right now, I could print it out if I was back in my computer, but I don't remember what it is, but I think it's almost like 10 times the population density that we have now. I mean, and like, I know the developer says we can't build Victorian houses down there, but I'm still, every time I see him walk by, I'm still saying it, I guess it's too late, but that subdivision plan looks like something that could be anywhere. And there was an opportunity to do something really special, really different, really special. And, I know it's all about packing in. It falls within the municipality's, densification plan or intensification, meaning it's cheaper to serve a larger number of people in a smaller area, a smaller footprint. But is it a pleasant place to live, and what will it be like in 10, 20, 30 years?
Yeah, and also you got to look at the local economy. We don't have the economy we had 20, 30 years ago. PPG's gone. Avaco is paying, relative, like half what they used to. I used to work at Avaco, and when I walked in there the first day, I couldn't believe the cars that were in the parking lot. Like, big trucks, there were Porsches, there were Jaguars. They paid very well at the time, and the pay rate now is probably less per hour when you start than when I started back in the 90s. So like they're not the employer that they used to be.
What they had I think they used to have about 600, I remember writing that, 630 some employees.
They probably still have the same number of employees, but the pay scale is not the same. And same with PPG. PPG was number
Everybody
one.
looked to you. That's where you wanted to go.
You wanted to go to PPG, and so they're gone now. IKO, I don't think, is at the same numbers they used to be. So who's going to buy these houses if there's no jobs?
People from outside the region.
Yeah. And if they come, like, I don't know. Anyways, I guess we're not going to solve that tonight, but
no.
It's a little discouraging. I like things the way they are, and I've heard people say I moved to Vankleek Hill because the way Vankleek Hill is. I don't want, like, I came from Montreal. I don't want to end up in the same situation where I left. And
no. I think the challenge will be, and I know Vankleek Hill Councillor Peter Barton has talked about it, is how do I think most of the people, there are a lot of new people here, and they have chosen to come here, as you say, because of what we have and what it is. And they are trying, I can see they're joining things, they're artists, they like what's here and they want to be part of it. So I just wish, like I was saying to the developer, I think the streets should have stayed north, south, east, west to keep the sight lines open instead of those, curved type of thing that you see everywhere, curved streets. But I would like to think that the people that move there, it's just like the subdivision that happened here so many years ago. It ended up being a lot of local people who maybe wanted to, downsize, that moved in. And it was a bit of capacity, for new people that just can't find a house that's affordable. That not everybody can buy a huge Victorian brick house. So I hope the first 50, that's the first phase, 50 homes, could be 2 or 3 people per household. That's another 150 people right there.
Yeah.
So
if they could spread if they could spread all the houses out to start with, and instead of building them all packed in together, like build one, skip 2 lots, build one, skip 2 lots, and then fill in afterwards. I don't know if that's an option, or maybe people will buy 2 lots and have a double lot, or it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, back to you. So tell me about some of the projects you're working on. I know you've done a lot of projects over the years.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear from anybody listening. We did Yes Women Can every second year, and Phil and I reached like an amicable agreement. We got along okay, but he would do the trade show one spring, and then the next spring I would do the women's show. And trade shows, anybody that's listening out there that has ever participated, they're a huge expenditure of time and money. And so when we didn't do it the last time, it was our 125th and we had a lot going on, so we skipped that year. But I'd like to do something different that doesn't, they're so expensive to put on. People have no idea. I remember one time after one of the Yes Women Can events, somebody said, well, what do you do with all that money? And I said, well, after we pay for the extra insurance, after we pay $6,000 for the electrical, after we pay $15,000 to the rental company, after we pay $2,500 to the arena, like there's, it comes in and it goes. Like, unless you run it on a shoestring, but we were trying to do something like extra special and extra classy, which was a huge amount of fun. Anyway, my question being, what would people like to see? Because it costs a business upwards of $300 to participate. It's the same with the Champlain Commercial Fair.
Yeah. And,
people, like we charged to come in and we gave people a beverage and a cocktail and a chance for a prize. But maybe people liked it and it was working. After I do something 4 or 5 times, I think, well, what can we do differently? And we're hoping that we can go ahead with the Christmas home tour in 2021. We'll have to see how that evolves, because it's about 1,000, at minimum of 1,000 people. The last few times we've had more people in town that, like, I would serve coffee or homemade muffins or something outside the review just to talk to people. Like, I made sure everybody was covered, everything was delegated that day. And I couldn't believe the number of people said, oh, we don't have tickets, but we just came to see what's going on. And I thought, oh my God, we've got 1,000 sold out tickets and we have more people in town. So that was...
the home tour is really good. I worked on Higgison Street at the front door there, giving a little spiel about the history of the building and everything. It was quite fun.
I tell you, and we had such a great, like, for this year, we were going to offer an exclusive a champagne a champagne tour, like a champagne, I forget there was another word with it. So we were going to sell, actually a couple of volunteers gave me the idea. And we were going to sell tickets for this thing the night before, and that you would go on a bus. All of this sounds horrendous right now, right? But go on a bus, and they'd go from house to house night before to see the lights.
Okay.
And so that would be a $50 ticket, and it would also give you a ticket for the next day. But then we were going to try to sell 1,000 tickets for the next day, just the same, and bump the volunteers to the night before tour, just to try to bring in some more revenue. Because that's, I don't know, maybe it's, I don't run an event well or something, but things do add up. After you start running an event, you keep adding, even the buses, like we get sponsors, the buses are expensive. It just, everything seems to come with a lot of extra. So anyway, we wanted to add that new item. And I mean, yeah, but I sent out an email to everyone saying we missed them. We hope to see them next year. And a whole bunch of people replied. People even emailed during the summer asking if it was going ahead. And I say, we can't process 1,000 people.
Yeah, with the COVID and everything.
But,
my in-laws come from Ottawa, and my sister-in-law brings some of her friends, and they make a day of it there, and they really enjoy it. So
I think it's a really good, I mean, if there's one thing, like I've been doing that for a while, I would love to maybe help get other events started, because that's such a great retail day and it's a great day for all the church organizations. Like if we had 7 events like that happening here, maybe one a month, with somebody else heading it up, it's a huge, I'm just thinking, like if there's 1,000 people come here and they've bought their tickets, so they're leaving, $25 at the review, or 22, whatever it is, I'm sure they're buying their lunch. It's another $10-15. I'm sure they're going to spend $20, $30, $40 shopping. Like you're almost at $100 per person. And if they come here and fill up with gas, if that's a minimum of 1,000 people, that's a lot of new money coming in. It's not just us buying from each other. And I think that's so important, to get other people's money.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No.
Sorry, I didn't mean that as crassly as I did, but that's what I mean. We have beautiful businesses here, and they need more people in there. And so that is the one thing I hold out hope for with, I know we call them new people, but I hope that the people that do choose to move to the new development choose to come here because they want to be here. And I've told the developer they have to be beautiful little homes.
Yeah.
We have to somehow make it work, because anyway, I hope. I hope.
The thing with events, they have to be something that's unique, I think. And the home tour is unique, and Yes Women Can is unique. I've been trying to help with the Winter Carnival for the past few years, and working with Lisa at the township. And it's just, you have so much competition and so much of the same thing. So we have the carnival here. L'Oreal has their little part of the carnival down there. Saint Eugene has a carnival. Dalkeith has a very successful carnival. So there's just so much carnival you can take, right? But usually the big events we put on the Friday night are well attended. Whether it was Lawrence LaRouche and his magic show, or the wrestling
thing,
the wrestling we put on, but
well, did I ever? I think I have told you this, but I'm always grateful when events that I do are successful. But I've had my share of fails, like with the Rotary Club. We put, and that one thing I think we're missing here is a big New Year's Eve party, like an old-fashioned thing with fiddling, or
Yeah.
And I keep thinking about that in the back of my mind. One of my things I'd love to do is a sportsman reunion night, where we could get some of the entertainers that used to be up there and raise money for a good cause. But one time we did this huge New Year's Eve party. It was the Rotary Club, believe it or not. 8 people showed up because it was freezing rain. We had boxes of sandwiches left over. So you can't, in the winter it's hard.
Yeah.
Because people have to. And then the carnival one year, when I was involved with it years ago, we had a sumo wrestler, those big costumes.
Yep, yeah, I remember that.
They were lined up outside the door, and Janice Renwick and I were saying, "Oh my God, we've got a ringer here." And people were waiting, and it was the most disgusting thing, a sweaty costume. We did it again the next year with 30 people.
Yeah.
Like everybody, like you said, it has to be like trending, unique.
Yeah, it's like the Combine Derby I guess the Convoy Derby still brings people in at the fair, but I just find it, you've seen it once, you've seen it a bunch of times, and
they're bringing the same combines back. It's the same ones as the year before, and
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
No.
I mean, how many used combines can you have in one year? But
it's just and it's pretty anticlimactic because they don't go very fast, and but it does, the allure of having something different that nobody else has brings people in.
But the demo derby, like the Vankleek Hill Fair, it's the thing. Right? It just goes, people go, they love it. The demo derby, it works.
Yeah, it does. And it's the one place that you're going to see all your friends from high school. Everyone comes home for the fair, and the beer gardens on Friday night or Saturday night, you're going to run into a ton of people that you know. I just think that Friday night needs to be a bigger draw. The horse pull doesn't do it for me as a main attraction on Friday night.
No, well, the horse pull used to be Thursday, but then they got bumped for the Combine Derby.
Yeah.
But the Friday, they used to have like a big headliner. Like in the old issues of the Review, they'd have like, I can't think of anybody's name, but they'd have like a Canadian
Tommy
star.
Hunter was there one year.
They used to have Wayne Rostad one year was there Friday night years ago. I mean, I know he was back recently, but
they just to me, they need to fix Friday night and have something big and have something different, or Friday night seems to be a letdown as far as a main attraction. But if anyone is listening from the Fair Board, that's my 2 cents on that.
Mega truck, those trucks with the wheels that are like
10
feet, big trucks,
monster trucks
driving on top of each other. I think people would love that.
It's a big insurance expense. I know Les used to Thursday nights he did the jumping and stuff, but again, it's one of those guys crashes and kills himself.
It's terrible.
Bad.
Yeah.
But that's what people want to see. I always thought lawn tractor racing would be good, or
they have Shorty Milkovic used to do that.
He did lawn tractor pulls.
Oh yes, okay, that's right.
So racing would be a little bit different, but I don't know.
It would be different.
It would be different. What else? What other projects you got on the go?
Well, the Vankleek FM thing, I think I talked to you about it. We have a website ready to go to create a 24-hour online radio station. And I have so many people that want to do podcasts. Do you know anybody that's doing a podcast?
I do.
So the idea would be, and this was before the pandemic, that everybody could do their shows, upload them into their program time slot. And I got all the local musicians whose CDs are for sale here at the Review, like Patty Kelly, Ashley McLeod, the McLeod Fiddlers, and Ian Hepburn with his Mindfulness Bell. I had a whole schedule ready to go. And it's, of course, here I am, being so upset about internet and stuff. But if we're 24 hours, we can register. And then you can say to your Google Home or your Alexa, hey, Google, play Vankleek FM. And then you can hear. And then one of my journalists was ready to do a daily news thing. And I thought we'd get somebody goofy to do the weather. And I want to get local celebrities to do station IDs. But it's just the time. And then this thing happened. And I have to sort out the SOCAN. So that is one thing that is kind of pending or working on it. It needs some support. But there's quite a, Reed Mason and 50 Proof. Like there's a lot of musical groups around here. Ken Duff is ready to do one and talk to local musicians. We had Home Roots happening for a while. There's music happening at Bose. Yeah,
Neil Emberg is actually doing a podcast. We actually came up with the idea of doing the podcast at the same time. He was before me, but when I put out the call on Facebook saying that I was going to try and do a podcast and I was looking for music, Neil reached out to me and let me know he was doing one as well, and I wanted to help any way he could. And so that's another person that's doing podcasts. And then Sean Cooley also reached out to me when I had put the word out. So I think he does some stuff as well. I was surprised. Neil was telling me all the headaches he was having, even using his own music that he recorded. He can't use on the podcast because I don't know, something with the rights and this and that. So.
Well, I looked and I have a file on it, but I was looking for software to install that analyzes, because my issue is, let's say that you're doing one at home and you add some music to it. Well, I have to have that. I have to own that music in my library to play it. Or
be Creative Commons.
Or exactly,
Yeah.
which is what I've been using on my street videos. But there's software that will, track down the music, no pun intended, and, make sure that every musician that plays, like, it's quite complicated.
Yeah.
I was talking to Jenny Miner about it, and she said it's quite a headache. But there has to be a way to solve it.
Yeah, so I've been doing the Creative Commons, and using that. But this episode of the podcast is actually Bang on the Ear. That's going to be the intro music, and they have a new Christmas song that they wrote. Christmas in Glengarry. I'm sorry I didn't look up the name, but it's actually really catchy, and they're going to be on the podcast in the future. They've got a documentary coming out, but I figured I wanted to get their song on the podcast before Christmas and before they come on. So,
I should mention too, Neil Emberg is working on. He wrote a song. I think it's called Gingerbread Town. And then we wrote an article about it. He put the call out to people by December 8th to send in photos and video. He says he's been overwhelmed.
Oh, good.
And so his video should be coming out, I think, within a few days. And we're going to share a link to it. And I got the best picture across the street. My neighbors, and I won't mention their names, but everybody in a small town, everybody knows who they are.
Yeah. Anyway,
they were putting up this beautiful big wreath upstairs, like on the second story of their house. And they had the window open, and the dad was looking out of the house, and then before you know it, his daughter was looking out, and I said, wait. And I ran home and I got my phone and I shot a little short video of her kind of waving out the window. But it was just such a nice Christmassy kind of thing. I thought, has to be. Well, I'll see if he uses it, but anyway.
So there's lots of people in town. So what happened to Vankleek FM? Like, when did it start?
Well, Jean Sarazan started it at least probably 15 years ago. And then we had an antenna on the roof, so it was over the airwaves. And then he moved out to Vancouver, not Vancouver, but British Columbia. Well, yeah, sort of close to Vancouver, about 5 years ago. And he just recently asked for his antenna. He had left it here, and I was going to take it over. And I just was so busy with the 125th that, I didn't do anything about it. I mean, it was still broadcasting. But anyway, so we've dismantled the antenna. I mean, we still could put it back up there, but the idea, and right now it's just online. So he's starting a community radio station out there. So we built him a new website, and he's supposed to use it out there, but we also kept the template for ourselves.
Okay.
And that's going to be Vankleek FM. But that's what I was going to say to you is, because this is so familiar to me, every Tuesday night and Wednesday night, we had like 2 shows a night here. People would come in, this was this type of setup that you and I are sitting at, which is 2 microphones, a laptop, and the, whatever that's called, mixer, whatever.
Mixer, yeah.
It was all set up. So everybody, all of the hot shots would just walk in and sit down, and Jean had set up like a million cables and wires, and Eddie Earwig used to do it, and Justin Bromberg was on, and Todd Gilbert, and Jackie Severs had her own show, and gosh, who else? We had live music here all the time. We've had Patty Kelly, and we had Ashley McLeod, we had Celtic Flair, so we had music clips, and then I'd often arrange for people to come in that were doing something in the community, like a story. But I was thinking, we have the counter that's in the front there. When it pulls out, we took the doors off, and there's trays to pull out, and you can set up all your audio equipment right there. And we were streaming live from here using the Review Internet. So it was kind of fun, but
it's how to monetize that.
And that's the thing. I think for the SOCAN, you can just pay the $100 fee, and if you're not making any revenue, you don't have to worry about the rights too much. But once you start trying to make, and I have sponsors already lined up. I want to do more like a PBS thing where you're a sponsor and you can choose the thing that you're going to sponsor. Like maybe you're going to sponsor the community events for 6 months, and you pay a set amount, and that's it. And we just mention your name at the end, like nothing too crass. So I'll have to get back on that. I know you and I talked about that, and you said, what could you do to help? So it's just, we would definitely, the podcast is going a lot better than I ever expected it would. I was thinking, like, if I got 10, 15 people on here, I would be happy. And we reached over 1,000 downloads last week. So that's great.
Yeah, I know it's peanuts for compared to what the reviews bring in, but for what we're doing.
But people love local.
Yeah.
And I know you had talked about videos too, and maybe the people listening can give you feedback. There's been a lot of research done about why is radio still going strong in this day and age. And there's something about, there's a certain amount of concentration when you're listening to the radio, and it's more intimacy. People are listening carefully to your voice. When you're watching a video, you're doing a whole bunch of stuff. But when you're actually listening to someone speak, it's a different neural kind of input coming into your, I mean, there's huge radio fans. People are following podcasts everywhere.
Yeah. So I drive to Ottawa every day for work, and I listen to podcasts up and down.
What are your favorites?
My favorites are Joe Rogan Experience, Spitting Chicklets, which is a hockey podcast, and I also like the Tim Ferriss Experiment. He's an author, and I enjoy his stuff. And then there's other people that I dabble with. I'm a big wrestling fan, so there's quite a few wrestling podcasts out there that I'll listen to, but Joe Rogan's my main go-to. He has the biggest guests, and I like Joe. So do you know who Joe Rogan is?
Not a clue.
I
hate it. I was going to look it up when I get out of here.
Well, he's the podcasting king. He just sold his podcast library to Spotify for $100 million.
Wow.
And so I think it's 2 years. They bought it for 2 years, $100 million, and they have all his back episodes and the video. So everything used to be on YouTube, and you could get the podcast anywhere. Now it's strictly on Spotify. It's still free, and the format has changed a little bit. Like, he used to do ad reads at the beginning. He's not doing that anymore. He's the king of podcasts. He's generally number one every month with the number of downloads and whatnot. So,
well, I feel stupid for not knowing. Meanwhile, I'm listening to stuff like Canada Land. There's another good example of a guy monetizing, and BBC World Book Club. And I like this. I like the NPR stuff. I like the serial. You know, what's the one where something happened here and they take weeks to unroll this.
Serials. I think they're in the 4th season of that. It's usually a murder or somebody that's
like a story that they haven't been able to solve. Or something.
Yeah, actually, I want to talk to you about that after too.
I know we've had a few of those in our town.
Well, yeah, I'm wondering what the implications would be of trying to go down that rabbit hole of looking into some of the strange unsolved mysteries in Vankleek Hill, but it might not be a good idea. So I don't know. Joe Rogan would be your speed. He's a comedian, and he's also a UFC commentator, so the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So, but he does have.
I've heard the name. I just didn't know the podcast. Like the name is Yeah, like
he has the best guests on. He's had Jamie Foxx on recently, had Matthew McConaughey on recently. But what I've come to notice is that the people that come on the podcast tend to do like the loop. So
they're on a
So Matthew McConaughey was on Joe Rogan, and then he was also on Tim Ferriss the very next week. So the big ones, you get these people that jump around if they're doing a book or whatnot. So, Joe Rogan, definitely worth checking out. Speaking of books, I was here on the weekend. I stood outside in the cold in the steps in a big line waiting to get your.
I don't think there was a big line.
Oh, there was a line. Yes, there was.
Really?
Saturday morning there was a line.
I was in an all-day course on Saturday, so I wasn't able to be here. But...
Yeah, no, I went to the Arbor Gallery for some reason. I thought it was there, and then I came over here, and there was a line out on the sidewalk. You were only letting one person in at a time, so. But still a line nonetheless. So tell me about the new book. What led you to?
Well, I know everybody in town. I always talk about when I write my book, because it's all the stories that I can't print, just funny things that happen that I'd love to kind of make into sort of a fictional thing. But just that I was we were posting a lot of stories, and my staff, during the early days of the pandemic in the spring, I started walking, but I wasn't getting home till 7 or 8 at night. So I ended up being out like between 8 and 9. That was my unwind for the day. And then, spring turned into summer, and I was still walking. And then I started taking pictures just at night because it just seems so serene. And I wasn't seeing anybody, but I'd walk by at night and you'd see people sitting outside in their yard, or you'd see people in their house and they're watching TV. And it's sort of, not that I'm standing there looking through windows, but everybody that walks at night does this.
Yeah.
But just that everybody was home, everybody was still here. We were hanging in, and it was kind of nostalgic. And it's like you talked about Video Bite before. There's a lot of businesses have come and gone here, and we need to think about that. Like, some businesses were here for many, many years, but some would try for a year or two and they didn't make it. It's hard. So that's why it's so important to support local. But anyway, so I started taking pictures, and then there were lots of words floating around in my head. So I decided, I was going to choose some of my pictures and put them into a book and sort of break the ice. Plus, for years now, I've been helping other people publish their books. And I thought, maybe, I should do it too. And I have a couple of other books that I want to work on. So at least I've tried this, and nobody came and said it's horrible. I mean, it's agonizing when you said, now I know what the other writers that, these typical questions. What if people don't like it? What if nobody buys it? What if I look stupid? Those same questions.
Well, you never know until you try, right?
Yeah.
No, it's a lovely book. My parents asked me where they could get one. So where can they get one? Is it?
It's sold exclusively at the Review, but also during this time of COVID. The Review has created an online gift and bookshop. So you can buy it there, and there are other books on there and other souvenirs. We're getting a bunch of really interesting things in tomorrow from the Dalkeith Historical Society. Some books and things that people are going to love. And we're going to be adding all of our products that we have here. We have over 75 different items out front for sale by local authors, musicians. We have CDs, note cards. So we want to create this online shop with a view that it's going to be their sort of a marketing thing for Vankleek Hill, even if you can't come here, so that when we're up and running and open for business everywhere, that people will want to come and actually see some of these places and the streets and listen to the music.
So do you have any in stock now, or will you have any?
We should tomorrow if UPS graces us with their presence.
Yes.
Yeah. No, they were supposed to be here Wednesday, and tomorrow we have all offered up prayers to the delivery gods, and we hope to hell they're here tomorrow.
Yeah. So where do you get the publishing done, if you don't mind me asking?
I have a printer in Ottawa that's an independent printer, and he's been doing a great job. But when I help people publish their books today to self-publish, there's many different options, and I'm quite open with everybody. It's not named after me, but it's called lulu.com.
Okay.
You can find bad reviews about it, but today it really opens up a lot of opportunities. Like, if you wanted to write a book, you can make your book, get your ISBN, put it in your book, and upload your PDF, design your one-piece cover, and within 2 minutes, your book is for sale on lulu.com.
Oh, really?
And so if someone buys your book, then the cost of printing goes to lulu.com. They keep 20%, and you get the rest of the revenue in your PayPal account. If there's a mistake in your book, you fix the PDF, you upload it, within 2 minutes, your revised version is there. You don't have any costs, right? You can order one book. But normally and again, I'm a big proponent of shop local, but it took the risk away from smaller authors from saying, well, do I order 100 books and then what? So this way you have your book for sale online, and I do ebooks as well, because if you put it on Amazon takes 40% plus the cost of printing. Like, people end up with like $1.32 for the book that they wrote. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Amazon. They're not very author friendly. I mean, the website is easy to use, but but there's different options. Like, lulu.com is really great for a black and white book, but when you start getting into a lot of color printing with some black and white pages, that particular online publisher either sees it as color or black and white. Like, they can't be, they don't get that refined. So that's why I like encouraging a local guy. Plus, it's 5 to 7 days we have the books, whereas it's a real crapshoot if you go online these days with delivery. You know, there's all these COVID delays. And so anyway, so it's a mix. You know, we try to do things that suit the author and what their needs are, and we gauge it and try to do. I always recommend pre-sales for authors. You know, you get a feeling for how many books you can sell ahead of time. Yeah. And it's just been really fun. I mean, I've loved words since I knew what words were, so it's kind of like a really nice kind of a break to work on books a few days a week and keep the newspaper going at the same time. But
So I hear you're doing a book with Sid McCollum. Is that correct? Or
yes, I just got all of it today. I'm pretty excited. I didn't know him. I mean, I knew who he was, but I didn't go to Pleasant Corners. I was the last graduating class from Hawkesbury, so I never attended school there. And I was saying to him today, it's a wonderful way to get to know someone, to read their life story. His book I said it's going to be incredible. I mean, he's got dozens of photos. He's got poems. He's got like essays and poems. In fact, by the guy that I'm looking at right here, something called, it's a scoop, it'll probably shoot me. It was something called A Very Bad Day or something like that. Anyway, it's a little essay that you wrote.
Uh-oh.
And then you're a profile in the book. I think the wonderful thing that Sid is doing is he's profiling some students and what they have gone on to do in life, like Joey Desjardins. Actually, Jason Jackson is one of them. Who else is in there? Terry Loretto's in there. I've lost the names. So you're going to have 5 chapters, and it's going to be a big one. It's going to be like 300 pages, I think. Good. And a really, really nice, a very, very nice book.
And when do you think that's coming out?
That will not be out. He'll probably go up for pre-sale mid-February to March 1st. Everything is written out by hand. So we have to type this.
Oh, really?
And scan the pictures and put it all together and edit it. And then I said, we don't want to put a price on it until we know what your print costs are. We don't know the print costs. Yeah. This is what I do with authors. There's all these steps that I've got another author I'm working with on a book about positive psychology. And I have another one too that's a book of poems. So I usually have 3 or 4 books going on at the same time.
You didn't think that maybe you should teach him how to use a word processor so you wouldn't have to type all this?
He is now forwarding emails and sending attachments. We've made a lot of progress.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he came to me. He was already well into it. He had already written, and he was recopying things. And I said, you could just take a picture of that with your phone. But no, he's an interesting person. Very interesting person.
I'm looking forward to seeing the book. I know he reached out to me, and because I coach basketball, so I think there's a little bit of a basketball flair to it. So he just wanted to know what all we had done when we had basketball teams here and who had coached and whatnot. So it was nice to take a trip down memory lane, and
it's really it's incredible. Yeah. It really is. And there's another maybe I'm going off topic here. I know before you were saying like what big things is the review working on. There's a huge thing that we have to tackle. We're still, some of our scans I was not happy with, so we're getting some of our pages rescanned from a company that is, I feel like they must be, they're extremely slow, but the quality is exceptionally good. It's amazing. So we just about have 22 more years to upload. Like we are closing this, they were closed 3 months for COVID. Like it's just been a nightmare. And I said, we have to. And then our final 2 plaques to go up on the wall, which were supposed to go up at the beginning of the year, got stuck somewhere. And then they were stuck in Halifax for 3 months. So I think they just got here. So I'm hoping they can do them before the winter. But it's all of our photo archives. I've been doing some reading about those. I want to scan all of our 35 millimeter negatives. I mean, we have a lot of digital pictures, but like, you should see the black and white negatives. Yeah. And we have to do something to correlate them. We'll put the names with them because we do have the names. They were like in the olden days, for all of you people listening, you'd have a 35 millimeter camera and you'd take like 6 pictures of the same thing because you didn't know if anybody closed their eyes. You didn't know if somebody was picking their nose at the wrong moment. So you took pictures to get one good one.
Yeah.
And so we have all the negatives of people with closed eyes. We have incredible pictures. So it's how to digitize those. And I thought it could be another little revenue stream. I mean, even if we charge people 99 cents, it would help assist. And I would like to invent something like a whole setup that is transferable, and other Century newspapers could use it because they all have tons of photos and nobody can see them. You know, anyway, if you have any ideas, I know you're creative.
So how is the project coming? Like, when do you Is it online right now? Is it not?
A lot of it is online.
So I could go on and log in and see it, or?
You can log in, but all the years are not there.
Okay.
We have 1893 to 1926. And I think we have 2 years in the 60s, which we did as a pilot because I was doing some samples. We've been digital from 2004 forward, but it's kind of like if you picture an Oreo sandwich and we're working at it from both ends.
Yeah.
But I think what we have ready, what's going to get uploaded over the holidays, they said they were sending them out from Toronto this week. I needled them again. I think it's most of the 80s and it could be into the 70s. I think that's what's coming in.
Yeah.
Because we have to, it's so much information that we have to let IGS know that we need to upload. And we have to let the database people know that it's incoming because it's going to completely block their system.
Okay.
And it's going to I think Travis did a calculation. It's going to take all night to do 11 years. So it's 2 overnights to upload all that time.
Good. I'm looking forward to the 90s. That was kind of my...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's going to be good.
I can't wait. I can't, we raised so much money. That was such a successful campaign. And we've got 3 years of a newspaper that existed just for a short time based in Lornell, and that's going to be uploaded as a separate publication. I really want to complete this. I mean, it's so hard to find time to do extras with a newspaper because you're constantly working toward that next deadline. But we are going to get there this year, come hell or high water. Yeah,
I actually think a trip down memory lane would be a good section for your newspaper. Publish something, this day in 1985 or this day in 1962 or whatever would be interesting for people to go back and look and something that they can flip right to and check out to see.
Yeah.
So do you have a succession plan worked out yet, or?
I have a couple of things, but not at liberty to say.
Okay.
Thinking about it, but I love what I do, but I don't want to do it if I'm not good at it. So if there's ever a time where I'm not relevant or the paper's not relevant, but I do want to hand off something that's ready for somebody that's I mean, we're keeping up on all levels. We're actually one of the leaders in the province. Like, we're ahead of many community weeklies.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're part of a big chain where they've got a huge machine behind them and they have one website template and they give it to all 10 newspapers. Like, we built our own from zero. Selling our online stuff. We sell Facebook contests. We do website design for other people now. We write social media content. We kind of ghostwrite for companies. So we're trying to diversify and stay relevant. If we're not needed, it's always a chance somebody else will come along and do a better job.
Oh, I don't know about that. You're doing a great job, and you're a cog in the wheel of the community. Keep us running there. For people who want to get stuff into the paper, what's the best way? I've heard some criticisms. Oh, why didn't this person get covered or that person be covered in the newspaper? And I've always told them if I want something in the newspaper, I generally just send it in, and there it is.
I think we have so many ways. Many people say that, how come and why not? And I can remember giving a talk one time to somebody, was at a service organization. I don't remember what club it was. And they said, how come there's never any news about our club in your paper? And I said, well, who's your PR person? Like, who's supposed to send us in news? And it was the person asking the question. And I said, we would love to have your news, but people think we're everywhere. And, certainly I'm not cruising on Facebook every minute of every day. And I'm always we have a great item coming from teacher at Pleasant Corners this week with just a really sweet story. It's going to be in next week. So you can email the editor. You can visit our website and add your content there. You can phone us. You can put something in our mailbox out front. You can send it by Canada Post. You can send me a Facebook message, an Instagram message. We're so reachable, but if people only knew how much we want to be the heartbeat of the community, and if we're missing something, I always say, well, send it along. Send it to us, because we're a small staff. We can't be everywhere. We would love to have your news. And you can email pictures. Everybody's a journalist today. Send us your stuff. And you should see it. I often think, like, people think, oh, it's just a little humdrum newspaper. Like, there's a pharmacist right now who says there's a drug that they're not getting the word out about it, and it would really help people with COVID, the symptoms. And I said, I can't just write about that. And he said, I have no financial interest in the company. And I said, but I have to clear the time to do research before I write that, because I don't want to misrepresent it. We have people that are sitting in their truck while a robbery's in progress. They don't call the police. They start filming, and they shoot us a message. I'm live at this robbery. Like, it's so interesting. The stuff that comes in here, it's like you would not believe it. Like, it's never a dull moment.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, your front desk is like a community help desk. People come in and ask for all kinds of things, and which is great.
But people just, if they email editor@thereview.ca, our contact information is on the website. You can find us on Facebook and message us. I'm really happy. We have over 12,000 followers, 10,661, I think, likes, people that like us. And not everybody, they say if you're a newspaper publisher and you have not created any enemies by the time you retire, you have not done your job right.
Yeah.
So it ain't a popularity contest.
No.
And I knew that, but I want to have, I hope I've made a difference at the end of
for sure
this and before I begin something else. But
do you have any tidbits or anything from Vankleek Hill that like history wise? I know you know the history of Vankleek Hill quite well.
Well, recently someone told me that there used to be a tunnel from where Andre Martel's house is, a tunnel under the street to the United Church. Now, I've done some questioning, and that has turned out to be not true. People thought there were ghosts at the Higginson Tower, and we had the Ottawa Paranormal Society here during the summer.
Yes.
They're trying to do a series and pitch it to Netflix. And they said they heard a woman's voice and a man's voice, and they were singing some type of Irish song. I didn't hear anything. I was outside over there till 2:00 in the morning. Heard nothing.
I'd like to interview them as well.
But
they're on my list.
There's a house on the way to the fairgrounds, and the people that live there, and I won't say who they are, they swear there's ghosts. There's several homes in town that people swear that there are ghosts in there. I don't know if I know things that people may not know about Vankleek Hill. What have you heard? Do you have any?
Well, tell me what was at the arena before the arena was there. I know it was Mill Street.
It was a pond.
It was a pond.
There was a pond there, and I don't remember the details. I was just working at the Review as a high school student, but there was some kind of big stink because there was so much water there that it was like flooding somebody's property. And when I think today, imagine if we had a pond in the middle of town.
Yeah.
And apparently, whoever with a casket maker was, and I'm talking, way back, that he could be seen at various times, like paddling around in the pond, in the coffin, to make sure that it was like watertight. So that's a funny story that I've heard about Vankleek Hill.
But wasn't there a brick factory there, or where was the brick factory?
I think there were 4 in town.
4 brick factories.
And then there was one, there may have been another one at across from PCPS in the brick house there.
Okay.
There was a brick factory there for sure. I saw Michelle just posted the history, but I had known it before. It was the steel house. I'm not sure where, I can't think right now where the brick factories were, but there was a carriage factory like where Weldon's Mechanical is. That was the Durant Pump Factory. They used to make washing machines and all kinds of things there. I did a bit of research when I just did a story about him. I don't know if you saw it, but I got a tour.
Of Dennis's, yes.
Of Dennis's,
yes,
yeah.
Yeah, I saw your, it was an interesting article. I'd like to see the truck that comes out there that they were talking about taking to SEMA. That would be quite interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. I don't know what a person would do with it, but he seems to know. Like there's pieces of stuff, and I get that people that, I mean, if I look at it, he said it's not a junkyard, and he hates when people call it a junkyard. And I said, I don't think it's a junkyard, but it's just people don't know, like, is this going to be used for something, or is it just that you don't know what to do with it? That's what other people are thinking. But that business has been there for over 100 years.
Yeah. Alvy was a Moto Guzzi dealer or mechanic. I remember Dennis. Dennis and I are the same age, so he used to come to school with his Moto Guzzi shirts on from his dad's shop, and he was always big into shop class. I think he tried to take as many shops as he could possibly take while he was
That's
there.
obviously his passion.
Yeah.
And there used to be 5 bakers in Vankleek Hill, and there was a bread inspector. I've read all of the reviews from 1900 to 1950.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the bread inspector would do random checks to see how much the bread weighed, and if the bread was too heavy, that was an indicator that the baker had put too much water in it and was cheating people, and he would get fined.
Oh,
So we talk about municipalities
yeah.
meddling. Imagine having your bread weighed if you were a baker.
Yeah. The big stone house on the corner of Pleasant Corners and 34, I heard that was haunted.
Did you?
I
haven't heard that one.
Oh, no. I heard there was a murder there. Like a whole family was murdered by their hired man or somebody that was there. Maybe I got the wrong house.
That has happened. I'm not sure if that happened there.
That was the story I heard, but
I know that a real estate agent was showing that property, and whoever he was showing it to, they tied the real estate person up into a chair in the basement and took his wallet and his money.
Oh yeah?
That's for real.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they didn't, I mean, he survived it. They just left him there, but that was a scary thing.
Was that in the paper?
It was in the paper years ago. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll have to look it up when I get onto my
I know.
archives.
It's just the bane of my existence that's not finished, but we will overcome.
Good. Well, I think we're well over an hour there now. So.
Oh dear.
No, that's great. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I'll probably get you on again some other time, and we'll talk about some more history or whatever projects you've got going on at that point. And
once the town comes to life again.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Good night.
Well, it's Christmas time again in the county of the Glen. Our Christmas tree is ready for Saint Nick, and the stockings they are hung with the hope that Rudolph comes. Sweet Glengarry, it's Christmas time again. Well, there's nothing quite like a Celtic Christmas night. We're ready for you when the time is right. We're gathered by the fire, singing songs and sipping cider. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a merry old night. Well, it's 40 odd below, and the snow begins to blow. We'll be counting on old Rudy's nose tonight. And as Santa makes his way, and the children lay awake, the pipes will play to welcome him our way. Well, there's nothing quite like a Celtic Christmas night. We're ready for you when the time's right. We're gathered by the fire, singing songs and sipping cider. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a merry old night. As we slowly all awake, with a smile upon our face, we all rush out to gather round the tree. Friends and family, we all gather with our matching Christmas sweaters. Happy holidays and best wishes for the new year. Well, there's nothing quite like a Celtic Christmas night. We're ready for you when the time's right. We're gathered by the fire, singing songs and sipping cider. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a merry old night. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a merry old night.